Tonight's subtle emotion for courage is willing or willingness. This is one that I really appreciate and value and love because willingness is the gateway to the first step outside into the unknown, no matter what it is, whether it's a new journey, new way of being, buying a style of clothes that normally you'd never wear. And it's it's truly the first step, willingness. A lot of times we don't even get to that point of just being willing to do something. It's I can't, I won't, I'm not able to. It's all these reasons or limitations of keeping someone exactly the way they are. And I've always valued growth and new things, um, like clothing wise. One day I could look like uh, a blue collar guy. Another day I look like I'm a Miami arms dealer. Another day I could dress like I'm going to a 90s rave. And it's all because I've had a willingness to explore new things. And rather than being defined by what's normal or comfortable. And the memory that comes to me for this, I like, I get flooded with memories for this one, you know. But a powerful one, the first thing that came to me was I did this leadership transformational workshop a while back, I don't know, like 7 years ago. And I really didn't know anything about it. My buddy, well, actually, I had never met in person. We had only bonded over Xbox and pain, basically. We were both going through marriages that we didn't want to be in, that weren't working, but kind of being victims about it. Not kind of, but being victims about it rather than getting out of it. And we bonded that way through humor, through competitiveness, and through pain over the Xbox. And we never met in person despite living relatively close. He lived in LA, I lived in Orange County. And one day he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I want you to come over to my house and check out this guest event." That's what they call it, where they just talk about the workshop, trying to get people excited about it, sign up. And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not traveling all the way out to Brentwood to do this thing that I don't care about." And he decided, he's like, "Okay, how about I come have lunch with you?" And he did. He came, took me out to lunch, and we talked. And he had a different energy about him, and he was being vulnerable, which I could tell was not easy for him. And I had a lot of fear and judgment, and all kinds of stuff was coming up for me. Like, what's going on with this guy? This is weird. And he asked me to do this workshop. It's a transformational leadership workshop. And I remember just going over stuff in my head, like possible scenarios as to why he was asking me to do this thing. And finally, I came to the conclusion, like, okay, this guy is a millionaire, multimillionaire, as far as I know, makes way more money than me. It's not like he's trying to get money out of me. He's never actually asked anything of me. He's never violated my trust. He's never, hurt me in that way, which was a big deal to me back then. Now I'm a lot more open. But I had a lot of defenses back then, a lot of armoring. So, and I just went through all these different reasons why he could be trying to manipulate me, basically. And I couldn't really come up with anything that was a reason. And I had, like, I was just like, man, so much resistance and judgment and fear. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand why I would go do this. But he was my friend and he asked. And I think that's a big part of being masculine. You know, as a man, you truly trust or feel loyalty or you bonded with another man, then when he asks, like, hey, let's go on an adventure or let's go do something that might be dangerous or this or that, you do it. You know, you think about it, but you do it if he's in that inner circle. And so I did it. You know, I told him I was I had a lot of judgment against it, but I was like, all right, you're my friend, you're asking. I don't really see any reason why you'd be doing it to manipulate me, so I'll go. And that was the first instance of willingness right there, coming from me. But the memory that came to me actually was when I was there. So I got there, and this workshop is designed to bring stuff up so that there can be breakthroughs. There can be, awareness of limitations and then move beyond them, whatever those are for each person. And I remember sitting there, and the speaker guy came out, and I'm just like, oh, fuck this guy. He looks so corporate. And he's talking, but he felt different. There was just something, I couldn't really explain it, but I could feel it. Like I had a feeling and an intuition, oh, this is not a normal corporate thing, which I couldn't stand because I was exposed to a lot of uh, like corporate pep talks and seminars from working as a computer engineer. And I never really liked those things. I just always found them fake, you know? And this guy came out and he's talking, and then he basically, just puts it out there like, if you're here to be here, then commit to being here. Say you're gonna follow the rules and be here, otherwise leave. And I felt in my heart that, like I said, there was something different about this. It was bringing stuff up, and I was aware of it. I was like, oh, and I was really feeling the other people in the room at the time, and I could tell that people were getting triggered left and right. Like their defenses were coming up, and I was like, this is interesting. Typically, people don't do that. People want to kind of manipulate their way into getting you to do something rather than just being like, hey, this is what it is. You're gonna step up or not, but you feel your own stuff. And then we went out on break, and I was sitting there contemplating all this stuff on break. And I remember an older guy, I don't know, he was like 60, 70, just flipping out, like literally flipping out, screaming, calling people names, the person that, asked him to come. Just like, I can't go too far into detail because, that would be not disrespectful, but it wouldn't be honoring that space, the people opening up. But this guy was flipping out so much, like dramatically. And I'm just sitting there watching it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, there's nothing this guy said that was that offensive. Like it definitely was bringing some stuff up, but not like that. It's not like he was talking about politics or, screaming at people or calling them names or anything like that. But this particular older man, it was literally like his life depended on him getting the fuck out of there as fast as possible. And in that moment, I was willing to do that workshop because I realized like there's something here. There's something here that is bringing up stuff that I don't necessarily enjoy feeling. Other people don't enjoy feeling, but it feels powerful. It doesn't feel bad. It felt um, like there was something to be had by doing it. I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I can just leave at any time. I don't necessarily have to listen. I don't have to give any money, you know, or whatever. So just do it, in that moment when that other man was just so unbending, so unwilling to step into the unknown, that inspired me to be willing to step into the unknown because I love that shit. And I did. And I'm really grateful I did. Grateful for that workshop at the time. Uh, it really helped open me up in a lot of different ways to possibilities and strength and courage in my heart and connected to people. Gave me some tools. Um, there were so many different experiences in those 3.5 days. And it all started with willingness. And, I also think reflecting back, my buddy, he was willing to be vulnerable around me, which is not an easy thing to do because I was pretty rough back then with the judgment and the anger, uh, and cutting people down. So that willingness to be open like that, ask me to do something, knowing that I could easily just reject them in a mean way. That took a lot of courage, and that courage just paid it forward. I just kept stepping into courage and courage and courage and courage that whole workshop. And it was a really beautiful thing. So that's the memory that came to me for willingness, one that I really cherish, a subtle emotion for courage. Tomorrow's it, last one. I'll see you guys then.